Naxals have targeted a Mi-17 helicopter in the Timilwara area of the Sukma district in Chhattisgarh. Remember, this is an area where Naxals are very, very active. It also abducted the collector of the Sukma district not too long ago. The helicopter has been reported missing ever since the Naxal attack. A Mi-17 helicopter targeted by the Naxals in the Timilwara area of the Sukma district of Chhattisgarh. There is no report yet about what happened to the pilot and the other passengers of that helicopter, but the initial reports coming in that an attack was launched by the Naxals. What kind of weapons were used, whether it was a rocket attack on the helicopter, that's some information that we are still waiting for. Just the initial reports that we have at this point. The Naxals have attacked a helicopter, and since that attack, the chopper has been reported missing. It was a Mi-17, and the attack took place in the Timilwara area of the Sukma district. What will be interesting is to find out exactly who this chopper belonged to and how exactly that entire attack was carried out. No reports at all right now about what happened to the crew of that Mi-17 chopper that was targeted by the Naxals in Sukma in Chhattisgarh. Two states in India which suffer the most because of Naxalism right now. In the other areas, the anti-Naxal operations have been relatively successful, but in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, the Naxal activity remains at its peak. Of course, both the states fall in the red corridor, which is Naxal infested, and it is around the Founders' Day that the Naxals intensify their attacks on security forces, which is why we've seen that attack in Latehar, where 10 security personnel, including one of the Jharkhand Jaguars, was killed. 9 CRPF soldiers and one of the Jharkhand Jaguars was killed in the attack in Latehar, and now we're hearing of this fresh attack, this time in Chhattisgarh, and it's a chopper that has been attacked. It's now reported missing. It was a Mi-17 as it was in the Timilwara area in the Sukma district of Chhattisgarh. In fact, we'll try and get you more images, more reports from the spot, but it's a very, very remote area, densely forested, very difficult to even get to the spot where the attack has taken place, which is why even though rescue teams would have been dispatched by now, they will take some time in actually reaching the spot. Headlines today's Jugal Purohit joins us for more on this story. Jugal, what are your sources telling you about the nature of this attack? How many people on board?
Well, Padmaja, as of now, it is not clear as to what is the nature of attack. It's too early for now for us to say that. But what has essentially happened is that this helicopter was flying from the Jagdalpur area towards the Sukma region to actually transport some people into the area and not exactly extricate people out of there. That is when this helicopter was fired upon. I also spoke to some sources in the police headquarters at Chhattisgarh who said that this helicopter was in fact in touch with them until 15 to 20 minutes back. It's only in the last 15 to 20 odd minutes that they have not been able to establish contact. They are not as of now confirming as to what has essentially taken place with the helicopter, but they're saying that they're not able to establish contact right now. They are still trying their best to try and touch base with the helicopter with whom they were in touch only 15 to 20 minutes ago. They're also saying that they are hearing of firing which is taking place on this helicopter from their local troops. The Chhattisgarh police right now is getting in touch with all the establishments which are around the Sukma, Dantewada and Bijapur. These are the three areas which are actually side by side. Sukma earlier used to be a part of the Dantewada district, so forces are being activated in all those areas, but obviously being after dark, it is extremely treacherous for the forces to move out without having any location or intelligence. They are right now on a search mode. They're trying to first locate as to what is the last reported position of the helicopter with whom, as I said, 15 to 20 minutes back, the Raipur headquarters was in fact in touch with. Padmaja,
who does this chopper belong to and where was it headed? What was the purpose?
Padmaja, this particular chopper belongs to the Indian Air Force is what we are aware right now. It was in fact carrying some personnel from Jagdalpur onto the Sukma area. It was not extricating people as is being initially spoken about. It was carrying some people into the area. We are still not sure as to what is the identity and what is the purpose behind it, but the Indian Air Force choppers are generally used to ferry people. They're not used in an offensive mode at all. They're generally used to ferry people, medical supplies, and also extricate people in the eventuality of an encounter, which obviously was not the case in this particular operation. We are learning from our sources that people were being transported into the Sukma region from the Jagdalpur area.
First Latehar and now this around their Founders' Day, Maoists have only intensified their activity. That's what seems to be borne out by this latest attack, girl.
Well, Padmanjat, it is not at all new for the Naxals to actually attack helicopters. In fact, we saw in 2009 where there was an election being conducted in Jharkhand when an Air Force pilot was actually shot dead by the Naxals. So it is an extremely dangerous situation for even the Indian Air Force helicopters, which are bulletproof, and they do offer all the protection, but it's extremely difficult and treacherous for them to fly in the face of firing. We are aware that many a times the Indian Air Force pilots have actually refused to land or fly in certain areas where they perceive the threat as being beyond a particular threshold level. But this incident is clearly going to show that the Naxals, and mind you, in the past, Naxals have also, from the recovered literature that the forces have got, actually been discussing about how to bring down helicopters and how to shoot down the Mi-17 and some twin-engine helicopters that several state governments actually hire from private players and pitch into these operations. So Naxals have been for a long time devising ways of trying and bringing down helicopters like the one that we are seeing right now. We are unsure right now as to what is the fate of this particular helicopter, but as I can confirm to you, the sources are telling us that they have lost contact with this particular helicopter which was flying over the Sukma region trying to insert people into the area.
And talking about Sukma in particular, this is one of the worst affected areas. Chhattisgarh, we know, falls in the red corridor, but Sukma has seen a number of violent attacks by Maoists. We've seen them capturing the collector, the district collector last year, Alex Paul Menon, and in fact very recently also there was an encounter between security forces and the Maoists reported in Sukma, wasn't there, Jugal?
Absolutely, Padmina. In fact, the last encounter that you are talking about was reported by Alliance Today just yesterday when a joint team of the Chhattisgarh and Orissa police had actually encountered some Naxals moving in the area. And Sukma, remember, is a particular district which is a very peculiar one because it was not a district on the administration's map, but it was later carved out after initially being a police district. The reason for doing that was, of course, the fact that the Naxals were present and were organizing their so-called liberated zone camps in the area in large numbers. That was precisely the reason why Sukma was carved out as a special district, and of course after being carved out initially as a police district, it has now emerged as a full-fledged district. But one is only trying to impress upon the point that in the Bastar region, these are the three most affected areas: Dantewada, Sukma and Bijapur.
Alright, Jugal, just stay on with me for a minute because former DG of the Border Security Force, former DG BSF, Prakash Singh, who's led several anti-Maoist operations himself, now joins us on the phone line. It reeks of desperation, the number of attacks that we've seen in the recent past, Mr. Prakash Singh, because the force of the Maoists is depleting with each passing year. The government is carrying out anti-Naxal operations. How do you view this latest attack on Mi-17 chopper?
They were equipping themselves to target a helicopter, and that they were trying to acquire rockets also. In fact, a long time back in Mehboob-Nagar of Andhra Pradesh, quite a few rocket launchers were also recovered. So they were trying to develop this capability, and I do not know the details of the incident, but maybe they were able to target the chopper. In earlier incidents, they were able to hit the chopper without causing any damage. But this time, I do not know the details, but maybe they were able to inflict damage, and maybe the chopper has been damaged and it had to force land somewhere. So it only shows the growing strike capability of the Maoists, and well, our inadequate efforts to deal with the problem. The most important factor which has contributed to the inadequacy of our efforts is the absence of any rational long-term strategic plan to deal with the Maoists. That is the factor number one, and the second major factor is the absence of coordination between the center and the states. The center issues a particular set of guidelines, but the state chief ministers take, they take the plea that, look, law and order is a state subject, and therefore we'll deal with them in our own way. So with the state chief ministers, each one of them, pursuing his own strategy and not conforming to the center's plan, that has become a big hindrance in dealing with the problem.
All right, Prakash Singh, thank you very much for speaking. Two headlines today. Thanks also to my colleague Jugal Purohit, who broke that piece of news.